In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the rear brakes on this Volkswagen Jetta. Let's get into it. I'm going to remove the wheel, use a 17mm socket, take the lug bolts out. And when I take the last one off, I'm just going to hold the wheel on so it doesn't fall. And grab the wheel and slide it off. We're going to take this screw out. You want to use a Phillips head screwdriver. You can use a impact driver like this. Sometimes it helps. Sometimes it helps because they're in there pretty good. Just twist it, hit it with a hammer. This one's really in there, so I'm just going to use a little rust penetrant. Let that soak for a little while. I'm just using a straight Phillips head screwdriver. You can pull that screw out. Now we're going to take these caliper bolts out. Use a 13mm socket, and I'm just going to use some pliers to keep the pins from spinning. I'm going to pull the caliper off. You can wiggle it back and forth a little bit. Might have to pry it off. Just use a pry bar. Just pry it out. Most of the time it's not this difficult to pull these out. It should just slide off. And make sure your parking brake is not engaged. And slide that off. You take the brake pads out. If the brake pads are in the bracket, you can pull those out. Just using a brake caliper hanger. I'm going to hang the brake caliper. Just go around the coil spring. The important part is making sure there's no tension on the brake hose right there. Just slide that out of the way. That's good right there. Just before I pulled the caliper off, I did put one of these lug bolts in just so the rotor would not fall. You can pull that out. And then if the rotor's stuck on there, you want to just take a hammer and just hammer on the rotor, pop it off, and it just slides right out. You don't have to take this bracket off. I'm just going to use a wire brush, just clean up the hub surface, get some of that rust or corrosion off. Now we're going to clean up the bracket using the same wire brush. Just where the pads are going to sit. Now we're going to take the pins out, the slide pins. Just slide those out. You want to take some brake parts cleaner and just wipe these down. If they're badly corroded, you want to go over to a wire brush and just clean those up. These are pretty good. Now I'm just going to take some silicone paste and lubricate the pin. Slide that back in. Make sure it seals with the rubber boot. And then I'll do the same on the bottom one. Make sure the boot's not ripped as well. A little corrosion on there. I'm going to just wire brush that. Pretty good. More silicone paste. And slide that in, make sure that's sealed, make sure those move. Those are good. We're going to put these clips on. Originally the vehicle did not have these clips. You would have taken those clips off and replaced them with new clips. We'll just put a little bit of grease on here, the silicone paste, just on those contact areas. And then put these clips on. Slide those in place. They should lock in. Right there, and then up top. There we go, those are good. I'm going to put a thin coat of anti-seize on the hub surface. Now taking the rotor, using some brake parts cleaner, just rinse down the back side of the rotor, wipe it off with a rag, flip it around. You can do the same on the front side. Wipe it off with a rag. Now install the rotor, just slide it in, just like it came off. You want that hole lined up with the threaded hole there. Get the screw started. And we'll just tighten it down. Not too tight, just snug. That's good. Now we need to compress this caliper. You're going to need a special caliper compressing tool that turns the piston as it pushes it. This has these little pins that are going to line up with those slots. So line this up. I'll just tighten this down. You can see the piston is turning. Just go nice and slow. If you see that the boot is starting to move a little bit, you might have to loosen it up. It might be sticking a little bit. You don't want to rip the boot. Just go nice and slow. And that should be good right there. And remove the tool. Most of the time you want these pins to line up like that. Just move it a little bit more, because there could be pins in the brake pads. These brake pads don't have those pins, but just keep in mind, in case there's pins, the pads want to line up with those pins. Take the new brake pads and just line these up. There we go. Line those up. They shouldn't be tight going on. If they are too tight, then you gotta remove a little more material from the bracket if there's a lot of rust on the bracket. Make sure these slide nice and smoothly. Now take the caliper hanger off and slide it over the brake pads. Just push it all the way down. Take the bolts, get those started. And get the bottom bolt in and started. We'll tighten these down. Now I'm going to torque these bolts to 26 foot-pounds. Now reinstall the tire, line that up. Take the lug bolts, get those all started. Now I'm going to torque the lug nuts to 89 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. And just go around again, double check.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.